Good morning, everyone. We'll start out on this Wednesday morning by taking a look at the U.S. tornado count. We're up to 1,123. Now, it is true that severe weather and tornadoes do kind of decrease. If you look at the trend line here from 05 to 15, that's this line right here, you notice that just on average, we see an increase, pretty steady increase through June, and then the line is less steep later on in the year, so the tornado count generally starts to decrease. But having said that, obviously this line, the red line indicating this year, went up well above that normal in that one outbreak around March 14th, 15th, and then never looked back. It was always well ahead of the curve, which is this one right here, with the individual outbreaks being these red lines right here. So we have seen a lot of tornadoes, as evidenced by the fact that these are the total number of tornado watches issued by the Storm Prediction Center this year, 163. And the color coding here, if it's a solid red, they've had more than 10 or more, I should say, watches. So some of these areas of Arkansas and Tennessee and northern Alabama, it looks like that might be solid red. That particular choice to indicate that is kind of hard to read, but you get the idea that the epicenter was certainly in this area, and the number of tornadoes in that area has been very high. Some people have suggested, by the way, that the Tornado Alley, which I hate that phrase, has shifted east. Well, this year it did, but I don't know if climatologically, I know it has shifted east and southeast a little bit, but this year is kind of an exception. These are the severe thunderstorm watches, by the way. 244 have been issued so far this year, and unlike the tornado watches, these have been centered or focused more on Texas and portions of Oklahoma as well. Well, here's the satellite view this morning. Offshore thunderstorms for the most part in the southeast. A reoccurrence of some convection in the northern plains. Get used to that. That's going to be a common theme here for the next 7 days and beyond. And Texas still seeing the lion's share of showers, thunderstorms, heavy rain in that area. I think I commented yesterday. I didn't actually go back and check this, but I think when you look at the Storm Prediction Center forecast for severe weather, I think some part of Texas has been under that for probably 2 weeks or more straight. And that remains today. Here's the HRRR simulated radar showing active thunderstorms across the northern part of the Corn Belt into Wisconsin and Dakotas. We have another area of showers and storms. Tomorrow is lifting through Arkansas as part of an upper level system, and I'll show you the 500 millibar chart for that in a second. But let's take a look at Wednesday first, though. A smattering of severe weather with the level 1 out of 5 risk for Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming, and then that stretch of thunderstorms that I just showed you that was being forecast on the models through northern Iowa there, maybe getting as far to the east as Milwaukee, northern Illinois, and Wisconsin. Then the highest level is the level 2. That includes the Houston area. And embedded within that, there is a tornado risk of 2% that runs from San Antonio over to Houston, almost over to Beaumont. This is, again, the lowest tornado risk that you can have, but still, it's suggesting that there's a 2% chance of a tornado within 25 miles, all within that area of showers and thunderstorms that the model is showing developing. Here's Nadocast for today. It does show a 3% chance in that almost the exact same area, maybe broadening the outlook just a little bit, so the 2% is the dark green. So this particular analog learning machine model is expanding it just a little bit. It's also suggesting some of those storms up in northern Iowa could produce a tornado, and it's a very likely scenario. Anytime you get a squall line, unless the winds are just completely off kilter, there is always a slight tornado risk, just about always. Let's take a look at the SIPS model here. You are looking at, this is analog. This is taking the current weather pattern and the model data and comparing it to what happened during similar times. And it shows that Iowa maximum. It also emphasizes areas back over Nebraska more. It doesn't really talk about Montana at all. And then certainly that South Texas. And then a lot of these thunderstorms were off the coast, as you saw, but there might be a few more that formed today. But I think that this part of the outlook is probably a little stale. In other words, maybe it's old, I don't know. But here we're going to take a look at CSU's learning machine model. It puts the tornado risk a little bit more centered in Texas, not so much in the coastal areas, a little more to the north. with the hail threat pretty high in Iowa and the wind threat likewise pretty high in that area as well. Now let's move ahead to Thursday. We still have a severe weather possibility in central and southern Texas, and then a long area there from the western plains, eastern Colorado, I should say, all the way up to Minneapolis. And I think there might be some room to enhance that tomorrow, maybe to a next level up. If we take a look at the CSU model, I want you to notice that there's a tornado maximum here at 5% in southwest Arkansas, where the SPC does not mention that. They're keying in on an upper level feature I'll show you here in a minute. But for the most part, it's a northern plains type of situation where the hail is expected to be large in parts of Nebraska and South Dakota on Thursday. If we take a look at the 500 millibar flow on Thursday, you certainly see the main jet stream features here, but on the back end of this, we're not really looking at severe weather. There's no unstable air. And then generally speaking, the jet stream is increasing its flow out in this area, and by default, we can assume that some of that energy will move into the northern plains, which is why these forecasts are showing up the way they are. But this one right here, this low, it's kind of weak, but it's centered over Oklahoma tomorrow midday. And you'll notice there's a little bit of a wind maximum around that. So I think that is what's fueling that tornado threat here. It's just making a pattern match. Certainly will be enough unstable air, but a lot of that will depend on the mesoscale features. In other words, how the thunderstorms actually develop and where they go and how they interact with their environment. That'll make a big difference. Now, if we go ahead to Friday, long area of level 2, really, from Montana all the way down to Kansas, including Dodge City, and also North Platte and actually Scottsbluff. North Platte is more to the east, and getting up into parts of northeast Wyoming as well. So a pretty significant threat there. That's kind of a broad brush approach. It's a combination of unstable air and favorable jet stream winds, basically. Again, on Friday, and this is kind of left over, I think, this tornado threat in Arkansas is left over from that upper level low. Remember, these outlooks end 12Z Saturday, so the Friday, it could be that this is early morning on Friday, 7 a.m. Friday, and then not so much later in the day. But it definitely backs up the SPC's outlook of kind of an enhancement there in Wyoming and parts of Colorado, getting down a little bit more on Saturday. The maximum for severe weather is up in Montana. Nothing being issued by the SPC yet. They have a different set of criteria. They are actually looking for 15%. So this yellow area represents what could be a forecast issued officially for Saturday. We just hasn't been happened yet, but of course they'll wait and see if it fits their criteria or not. On Sunday, kind of a broad approach to the severe weather. Same on Monday. Pretty much the same areas, really. And then even on Monday, we'll take a look at the jet stream. We have kind of a trough of low pressure developing here. This is the EPS means. So this is a favorable condition for severe storms, assuming you can get unstable air and no capping, which I think are going to be the case. Notice some stronger level winds are coming in here too. Generally speaking, and we'll show this in a minute, this entire area here is becoming more severe weather prone as we get deeper into June. We'll look at that in a minute. On Tuesday, again, the highest threats are in the high plains with some broad brush stuff out to the east. There's room for refinement there, certainly. So if we take a look at the supercell composite index, it's showing the early on Texas activity. Again, this is a week of a summation. This is taking a look at each pixel and what's the probability of supercells and then adding it up. So that's why I comment that this stuff is really meant for the early part of that week, which is June 11th through the 17th. And then the northern plains are where the center of activity is going to shift. That's what I was talking about earlier. And then June 18th through the 24th, definitely that's the case. So if you live in Iowa and Nebraska, up into the Dakotas, Minnesota, Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan, that's where I think the severe weather is going to trend for that middle, almost late part of June. And then we go into July 1st now on that 3-day on the 3-week outlook, and that's exact same area. And that fits with climatology. Assuming that severe weather is active, I would expect it to be more to the north as you get deeper into June and deeper into summer. Thanks for watching today's edition of Severe Thunderstorm Outlooks. This is published every day after the morning Storm Prediction Center update. Also, remember to check that site off on day one because they update it fairly frequently. If you like this video, please like it. Also, you can subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.